Welcome, dear listeners. It's a pleasure to greet you once again to our series of ESCO-related webinars from the Global ESCO Network. And this is the first webinar of the year, and we are actually starting with a bang because the number of registrations is off the roof. So for our speaker, Carlos, today, no pressure, but the interest in the topic that he will present is immense, and we very much look forward to learn from you. So today's topic, well, you must know since you registered, but it's basically the white certificates with a specific case from Spain, white certificates or energy savings certificates, which is a mechanism for, at least in Spain, for the Spanish Ministry for Ecological Transition to provide additional rewards for final energy savings to companies and individuals. So today we have Carlos Ballesteros, which will present on the energy saving certificates in Spain, how these certificates work and how they drive the growth of the ESCO market in Spain, who the main actors and agents involved are and their roles, and then also the main results on energy savings and key learnings so far and next steps. We are quite fortunate to have Carlos on board, which is the managing director of ANESE, the Spanish National ESCO Association. He has a very long experience working with energy and energy efficiency from various fields. He's also an observer of the UNEP since 2019, and also a board member of the Senelec Joint Technical Committee. So basically, he has really in-depth understanding of the topic, both at the sort of global, overall international level and the technical specificities at the local level. He has also wide experience from the EU and related to energy efficiency. He's also an advisory board member for the EU Horizon and LIFE projects, board committee member of the latest Spanish events related to energy efficiency, and also board member of Oficina Verde in Madrid, which is the first one-stop shop for buildings renovations in Spain. And from our perspective, first and foremost, one of the beloved members of the advisory committee of the Global ESCO Network. Before I give the word over to Carlos, I would also like to remind you that you can ask questions and we will do our best to address them at the end of the presentation. So we have, I think, approximately half an hour of presentation from Carlos, and afterwards we will try to address all of your questions. You can post your questions in the question icon in the software or browser. Carlos, are you there? I give the word over to you, and you can, of course, present yourself, and thank you. Take us through the white certificates.
Thank you so much, Federico. It's a pleasure to be here today with all of us, and it's not pressure. That's the first point, no? So thank you in advance to have the opportunity to explain a little bit the Spanish mechanism of the white certificates, and therefore to promote the ESCOs in Spain, in Europe, and around the world. I share my screen. I'll try to do it. So we are talking today about the agenda. I try to fix in 30 minutes. First of all, a little bit of ANESE, to understand a little bit the role and the proposal for us, a little bit of the background from the CAES. We talk about the system, the different contract types, the typology of the energy saving measures, and okay, the current market situation and what's going and the perspectives in the future, or what we are expecting from. Around the ANESE, we are closely 200 members, 17 years of experience in the market represented as making the bigger representation of the energy efficiency. It was the main pillar of the association, but in the develop and boost the market, we make some develops of many other kind of things that is regarding the ESCO companies, mainly as we can talk about renewable energies or the integration of digitalization, connectivity, and other kind of markets. We are working as a lobby in the good way with the policymaker, but as a cluster, we can say, with all of us members to promote the business market. We can see here our actual current members that are ESCOs companies focus on that, but we have this ecosystem that allow us to work together to promote the energy service as a mass. No, we have with us technical providers, we have finance institutions, many aspects of them, not only traditional bank, investment fund or any kind of agents in that way. And we have consultants to allow all of things. And later talking about the white certificates, there are other kind of agents as certifier or verifier and other kind of intermediary vectors. No, we have many of the biggest companies, most known in Spain, working in the renewables energy, but two now in the ESCO. No, so I think it's a good ecosystem to work together. That's the main idea of the association, not to be an association in that two roles that is so important, association and cluster, to promote and develop the market. So just a little bit of ANESE, and now we start talking about the white certificates. No, if we look in the past, the origin or the germen of the in this case the background from the white certificates started in 2014. The European Directive on Energy Efficiency requires to the member states to achieve this accumulative and end user energy savings. In the case of Spain, they make the contribution to create a national energy efficiency obligating scheme with the contribution to the National Energy Efficiency Fund. So who was the obligated subject were established on electricity and gas marketers and wholesale operators of petroleum products and liquefied petroleum gases. No? Later we have the opportunity in 2023 how the achievement, or in this case the creation of these energy savings obligations, based partially in the French market, but with some specific difference that we have the opportunity in the next slide to talk about, right? But the first point is the obligated are they have to promote the contribution to the National Energy Efficiency Fund, right? The target of the energy saving is calculated, and this is so relevant, and distributed proportionally based on the sales of each obligated subjects 2 years before the current year. So a new one must spend 2 more years for the contributions, right? And pay in this case makes an annual financial contribution for this National Energy Efficiency Fund. You can see in this picture with these two options, right? In the top we can see the traditional one, so the annual energy savings obligation from these obligated subjects pay for the national energy efficiency, and thanks to this, the IDAE is our Spanish energy agency, promote thanks to the grants of different programs, right, for make the energy efficiency actions, and with this, the country, in this case, the ministry, has the justification of the final energy savings with the promotion, of course, in the case of Spain. That it was go on from 2014, still go on, but we can say later the percentage that is mandatory, right? But from 2023, it was created the CAE system, white certificates as a French market, right? With some specific difference. And appear here for the first time another kind of subject that is the delegated. So we have two important agents, obligated and delegated. We have the opportunity later to talk about both of them. So the main difference is, okay, I promote the energy efficiency actions. I have the project, and now we have to verify the certification of these actions, right? We did have the annual energy saving obligation, right? So we have the opportunity to talk later for this market, and the final energy savings justification from, in this case, from the ministry. But in the concept is so different, right? The grants, you have to promote. First of all, you have to receive, okay, to have the tenders, and you have the proposal approval to make the energy efficiency actions, right? Later you recover, of course, these grants, but this the incentivization comes from the grants, and with the CAE system is not exactly the same. You make first of all the action, the energy efficiency, and later you, based on certification, and you can recover this part, right? We have. So if we talk about objectives, in this case from Spain, and how's the obligation for the different years, in the top right, we can see the annual final energy saving targets, and how it's, in this case, accumulative per year, right? The energy efficiency projects, right? As you can see, we are increasing, not year by year, it's 2 years, right? But we can see exactly what's the accumulative, right? In this case, and this is per year, was the annual. So if we talk about it, was the target for a country as Spain, we can see the first point is the past decade, it was around 16,000 kilotons, and regarding only for the percentage that we are increasing the target for Spain until 37,000 kilotons in this decade, until the period of 2030, but increase for the new directive energy efficiency, to increase a little bit the level, we are talking about 54,000 kilotons of the cumulative end-use energy saving. That's mean 3 times more than the previous period. If we put, in this case, the focus on the energy efficiency and the white certificates, you can see, as I said before, the total accumulative in the bottom right, how this representative is cumulative per year, right? So we can add it 2021, 2022, right? And at the end, we can see in 2020, 2030, all these 53,000 kilotons year per year, because an action that you have promoted today with a project is savings energies during this decade. And we only put in value the decade, right? So if you make something in 2030, it's only based on this year, right? If you separate another period, we start again with this increasing, right? So if we put in before 2024, we visualize 2022, and the national contribution, we were talking around 200 million euros. So we are talking in 2026, in this less than 4 years, 2 billion euros. So 10 times more for the contribution, right? Later we have the opportunity again to talk about the current situation, the goal, the deal, and the target, right? But you can see here the evolution of the yearly obligation. So first of all, and again, for this picture, you can see the green one, the green light, and the gray, right? How is growing the green light color. That's we want to come from this energy savings, come from the white certificates. The gray one comes from any other alternative measures that promote, in this case, for the grants, for FEDER, for any other kind all funds, right? But then again, so we are increasing year by year the final energy saving target. You can see, for example, 2024, 375 kilotons. We are talking now from this year around 810 kilotons that represent 942 terawatt hours. So it's amazing, right? The finance equivalence is growing at the same time, and the financial contribution is regarding these both concepts, right? The final energy savings and the financial equivalence, right? And you can see from the options you can came from the CAEs, no, energy saving certificates, a percentage of your obligation for the obligated. So in 2024 it was 65%, and now it's growing. The past year it was 85, now this year is 92, and the next years for 2028 and the rest of the decade, we are talking about the 95% of the yearly obligations. Voluntary, that's so important, right? It's not mandatory. You have two options: to pay to the National Energy Efficiency Fund or to come with white certificates to a price lower than the National Fund. And that's the idea, and that's the challenge. Talking about the CAE system, okay, what's a CAE? It's a certificates, no? That's it's important. It proves a verified amount of final energy saving resulting from an energy efficiency measure, okay? The second point is only 1 year of energy efficiency. That's so relevant because it's different. Spain designed only for 1 year because our report for the European Union is per year. So everything is based on 1 year. In a period of 10 years, as a decade, by year. So when we create the SNOE, in this case, and the National Energy Efficiency Fund, so both of them, it was created by year. So it's not exactly the same than the French market, that is CUMAC, you know about it, and they have all the cycle life of the technology, not in our case, right? Important, the application to obtain these energy savings certificates must be submitted within 3 years from the date of the implementation of the efficiency measure that generate the energy savings. So we have 3 years after, okay, you can start, imagine this year we finish the project, we have 3 years, and later we can go for the market or not. There are different options during these 3 years, but after the end of the project. Here you have an example. 1 kilowatt hour is 1 CAE, no? So 100 kilowatt hour is 100 CAEs in this case. So 1 CAE is 1 kilowatt hour per year, right? Important, this is not a grant, it's not exactly the same mechanism than French market. So this is a finance support mechanism, right? It's complementary with a grant program, right? And you have different taxes, everything exactly the same than normal market, right? And we have talked now about the agents of these mechanisms. I start for the national coordinator, in this case the Ministry of Energy Spain. We have, as you know, Spain similar to states in other countries, but we have regional authorities, right? That is in charge of the validation, right, of this CAE. This is so important, this agent, the verifying entity, this certifier, is different than the French market, and talk about traceability of the system. This is so important agent for that. And of course, the obligated, as we said before, or in this case, the delegated entities, we have the opportunity to focus on one moment later for the delegated because it's so important in the development of this market. But we have the opportunity of some other intermediaries as ESCOs or installers, or contractors, or properties. There are many other different agents in the sector. And always the beneficiaries of the energy savings in the ESCO program or without the ESCOs is the final users, the end user, we can say. Okay, talk about the obligated subject. As I said before, the electricity and gas marketer, wholesale operators or petroleum, okay. In 2026, in Spain, we have 783 obligated subjects. Not all of them has the obligation, only 466 companies. So as I said before, is N-2, so 2 years before, right? So they have 466 and they can operate in the system as obligated subjects, all of them that are more than 50 megawatt hour of obligation. That means 347 companies, right? Just point, we have not all of this I would like, but maybe in the future, I hope so. But right now we have around 75% of the obligation contributors in some, only you can see in the right side, only the first step or top 10 bigger contribution has around the 81% of the obligation, right? As you can see, Repsol, Endesa, Moeve, that changed the name, Naturgy, Vedrola, BP, all of them are working with us in this moment. Many others, right? But the majority of them are working on them, right? As I said before, we are talking about this year around 1.9 billion euros, the contributions, and the target of 9.42 terawatt hour. That is around the double of the past year. So every year is doubling. So in the scale. And talk about the delegated. So if the obligated is a company specialized in the sales, the delegated is a company specialized in energy service, in energy efficiency. So the ESCO are relevant and important delegated. No? Currently, there are 63 delegated subjects, and with us are 60% of these members right now in ANESE. And anyway, so they have to, it's important this role in two aspects, in the economical and in the technical aspect. So they are prepared for, they have the experience in that way. So it's a public or private legal entities that can assume totally or partially the delegation of obtaining new annual energy savings from one or several subject obligated that have been previously accredited as such by the national coordinator of the system. They have many or something specific opportunities for them. Assume the delegation of the procurement of the, in this case, of the energy for one or for more obligated subjects. Later we have the opportunity with the different market to understand a little bit. Something important for actions for the future calls for tenders from, this case, from the Ministerio. They will participate. Right now, only the delegated has the possibility because the obligated has, as the normal one, in order to instead of to pay for the national energy efficiency, so that's an opportunity, and issue KS to the market. Okay, there are more agents. Who? The energy savings verifier, the regional authority, and the national coordinator. This is showing relevant, these three agents, because at the end is talk about the traceability of the system, no? So it's important to be more strong, as strong are the companies that verify everything, no? That's the point, no? ENAC is the national entity for the accreditation system, right? In this case, has and is working with the national coordinator, right? Accredited the energy savings verifiers. Right now there are 11 of verifiers. We have right now 6 of them. What kind of companies? Bureau Veritas, Ainor, Equa, there are many of them. Again, Marwen, we have, again, there are 11 is not to know anybody of them, but as you can see, there are entities that are many of them are operating before in the ETS market, right? But they are so specific for the energy efficiencies, right? And what's the most important? They certifies the information provided by the applicants. In this case, the applicant only come from the obligated or the delegated subject, is complete and complies with the stabilized requirement, right? And they have their own royal decree with the procedure from ENAC, the national entity. Okay, they have the check for this point and goes for the next window, no? And the next window is regional authority, right? In Spain, we have 17 autonomous community, similar than a state in other countries, right? And they have a specific energy efficiency competence, right? What's the role of these entities? Validate the certificado, in this case, the CAE record, and verify that all the elements that maybe require additional evidence of subsanation in this case, to verify that it's okay with all of them. And they make the pre-use of the CAE, right? And the pre-registration in the CAE national register. That is the role, from this case, for the national coordinator, right? That is responsible for ensuring the proper operation of this system at the national level. They have the role of the authorization of the delegated entities, the final registration of these guys, and the regulator and at the same time the operator, in this case for the platform supervisor, all of this, no? And comes in this case from the director, the managing director for energy policy and mines, from the ecology transition and demographic challenge, in this case MITER, right? The Spanish energy ministry. So we move on to the procedures. You can see in the left side the primary market, in the right side of the second part, the secondary market. We talk about the primary market, always talking about the end user and the energy efficiency project, right? Until the verification, until we have the white certificates. Once time we have the white certificates, we are talking about the secondary market, right? So in the first one, we have an obligated entity or delegated entity or intermediary that promote with different contracts, that we talk later about it, and make the application for savings the measures, right? One time it's verified for one entity certifier, accuracy of the measure, documentary correction, and if everything is okay, we have in this point the CAEs. One time that we have the application for the CAEs issuance, right, and it's registered, we pass, in this case, this process only can do it the obligated or the delegated, not the intermediary, right? And one time that we are in the secondary market, we have two players and two options, right? We have to sell or to translate from the delegated to other delegated, or you are obligated to other obligated, or your own obligation. So the two combinations of two independence roles, right? But anyway, so the application for the case settlement, fulfillment of the obligation in this secondary market. And remember that we have 3 years from the end of the project for this secondary market. So talk about now for the different contract types, right? There are many information. Sorry, I apologize for this. Try to, and the presentation will be available, right? But I try to give the main important points. You have the options to the CAE agreement or later the delegation contract. In the CAE agreement, we are talking about the primary market. So the saving owner make an agreement with a delegated or obligated, right? Or in the other side with an intermediary, right? We have both options. Only one intermediary is allowed. And anyway, so at the end, you have the savings owner and the delegated obligated subject, right? That is the property of the owner in the end moment for this CAE agreement, right? But always talking about the private savings transfers agreement. Remember that is not an grant. So after that, one time that we have the CAE, right, is the possibility of the delegation contract that must be between two different agents, obligated and delegated, right? One time is that you can go for the market, in the secondary you can sell for many others, so delegated or obligated, but if you sign a delegation contract, it's an obligated subject to obtain new annual energy savings accredited by CAE in this case, but it's between an obligated and delegated, right? That's the main point. So types of energy savings measures. You have two options. Comes from standardized measures that is based on in a catalog, right? It's collected through data sheets, and the main characteristic is that it's replicable, right? That's the most relevant. So, and in other way, in other hand, we have the singular measures, right? That is not included in a catalog, and it's a little bit more complex, so it's not replicable, or there are so specific characteristics that make it that these singular measures. In the second one, in the singular, is the normal. We are following the protocol of IPMVP for identify these singular measures. For example, for the verifier has to go in the projects, have to see and to take 1 day to understand a little bit the process and everything in the verifier. So the traceability always is important. If we talk about, in this case, standardized seeds, we have 116 seeds come from the sector that are talking in the Energy Efficiency Directive: residential, service, industry, transport, and agriculture. And you can see in the right side different topics that we can make some as standardized for electric engines, or heat recovery, or insulation, industrial or residential, or lighting, or so. There are many of them. In this case, ANESE has worked directly with the policymaker to help in that way, thanks to our members, to develop this many of these seeds, and that's based and made from the sector, the private sector. Not only ANESE, many others, of course, right? But we are working with them because it's so relevant that as stronger and bigger will be the standardized, is always beneficial to reduce the time in the process to the certification and the verification, of course, for the savings. Characteristics is periodically updated, right? And when there are some transitional periods, at least 6 months for removals, or 3 if there are so important modifications. And okay, there are other opportunities that has the National System Coordinator may apply a correction coefficients to reflect additional impacts. All right, this come from the National Coordinator in order to the social aspects, or environmental, or economic, or something specific that they want to promote, any specific technology or any kind of sector. They have that important key, right, for the thanks to the coefficients to do it. Other important point is the consultation for singular action. So you are making the possibility for a new project, and you don't know if this is in the borderline, if it's energy efficiency or no. It's not so clear. The investment is so relevant. We are talking about a project bigger than 1 gigawatt hour. So there are too much in the plate, right, for this. There are a possibility to make a consultant for the national coordinators. That's so important regarding if the evaluation of these projects to determine if it's eligibility for the CAI system and suitable for the energy savings calculation methodology. That's so relevant. You need prior assessment, favorable prior assessment from the verifier, right? But this is binding consultation, and it so makes sense, especially for bigger projects that imagine, for example, to change the more efficiency one engine of a plane, right? And you have to invest for develop of something that is a lot of money in that way, right? So this you can do it thanks to this consultation that is so relevant. We are closely to finish. Just the next point will be to talk about a follow-up panel that is interactive and show the current status of the energy savings certificates through Spain, right? You have different filters. You can see, for example, by autonomous community, type of action, or sector. So you can see in the right side that there is the data or any kind of difference aspects. The savings relating to the transport sector are calculated where the company or individual owner of the saving is based. That is more typically in Madrid, the headquarters of many of these kind of companies, right? So that's it's always that if you have a project in the national one, is not through one community, you can introduce with the national coordinator, right? That's important at the national level. Imagine, no, it's only one technology, or they have technology in 3 states. It's not so common, right? But imagine in the biggest of in this case, the transport sector is so usual, and it's updated this data every month. In the current situation, the request energy, this is the accumulated, right? The aggregated data. You can see the evolution for the first year, that is start November, September, because it was available for the delegated. So everything started really the past year, 2 years ago, so in 2024, but 2023 it was the first experiment, the first develop of the market, so it was anecdotic, right? And the past year, it's true that they start slowly and grow a little bit until November. So, and you can see the evolution of the year that the application we are talking. Let's have in the next one slide specific for 2025, right? But in the cumulative, we are talking about issuance application for more than or around 5,000, and the number of measure more than 20,000. So it's so relevant, and the requested energy savings around 8 terawatt hours. But you can analyze. You can analyze specific for the past year. That is the first this go on. This system, this process, you can see that we are talking about the projected for the past year, it was 4.6 terawatt hours, and the requested energy saving was higher, around 5.8 terawatt hours, with a lot of issuance, a lot of measures, and so in specific in these 3 vectors or sectors: industry, transport, and service. And we analyze in this point the difference between the singular and standardized. The majority of the standardized, they are in the other transport and service, more in service and residential, but the majority of the industry goes through the singular. So less singular, but higher in the energy savings. 3 terawatt hours, more than 50% goes directly for the singular, and the majority goes to the industry. All right. The ministry gives some data about the end user retribution, but it's not so don't make sense because don't analyze yet. We hope for the next year that they can do it for each sector, right? That's so relevant. And again, for if it's singular or standardized, it's not exactly the same, the cost of this and everything, right? And the last, talk about the perspective for the future. I think we are 5 minutes late, but it's okay. What's the future? What we always say was the wishes for the three wise men. No, it's I would like to say it's always okay. Continues with the project of the growth of the system. In particular, for the ESCO involvement in CAE projects continues growing, rising from the 60C in 2023, but this was the first year, but the past year was 71%. We are not ready the data for the past year. We're promoting the next national report, but I'm sure that in confirming that is the key growth area, in this case the CAEs, not only for the ESCO, but of course it's a big issue in this case to do it. Additional resources for regional authorities. This is 20 measures is amazing. No, 20,000 measures is a lot, right? We have a stronger outreach in sectors with slower growth, as the residential, agriculture, the renovation wave. We have to promote that one. We hope the development of energy savings auction mechanisms to promote the technology and this kind of sector that is not promoting. That's the challenge, no, for the next year. We hope for the future. This is a hope or a wish, much better, no? The creation of a unified European market for energy savings, similar than renewable gases. The white certificate, if you think about it, is the first step. It's exactly the same. The accreditation or the mechanism of the exempt of origin from the renewable gases. We have to promote, and we have right now in Europe, French market, Italian, Poland, Spanish market, how we can think in a future, in the middle term, for a market of energy savings. So that's all from my side here. Thank you for your attention. And here my data, and you have, I think, presentation. Federico, sorry, maybe 5 minutes later.
No worries, Carlos. And I think those 5 minutes were actually highly appreciated by our listeners. Thank you very much for this presentation. And looking at your last topic, so outlooks for the future, let me start before I go into the questions. There are many, but if you are interested in the topic of white certificate, I'm sure you should definitely participate in our upcoming International ESCO Symposium, and we have our host for the International ESCO Symposium here, Carlos and ANESE, that will host us in Spain, in Madrid, on October 20th and 21st, followed by the National Congress that you have. So I assume that white certificates will be a hot topic at both these events. So you're all welcome to save the dates, October 20th, 21st, and 22nd in Madrid, for more information. It will almost be an ESCO week, I would say. On that, thank you very much for hosting us this year, Carlos. We very, very much look forward to it. So I hope to see many.
A pleasure, Federico. I think I have a big opportunity to to bring the ecosystem and to share experience, right? So I think in different market, I think it would be so beneficial for all of that. No, that's so relevant, and the meetings B2B workshop. I don't know, the possibility to share experience. No, that's the challenge for the future. Yeah.
So we very much look forward to it. Well, I think without further ado, I think we should take some of the questions. There are many, so I've taken the liberty of choosing some of them.
Of course.
And I'll take one which is actually combined, a combination of two questions. How is the baseline periods defined for projects under the certificate scheme, considering that different projects may have different timeframes? And how are these aggregated when reporting against the target? It's a quite technical question. I'll combine it with, do they use IPMVP as a method? And I guess this is also a question for the verifiers. So basically, the verifiers will have some criteria that they check against in terms of methods that are applied and so forth.
The first point would be, we need to grow the training and the experience for all the agents. That is not so common for the verifiers. With this huge amount of projects, especially for the standardized, right? Because these verifiers, it was working, for example, for the ESCOs, no? You use it, no? Many times as independent verifier when there is a conflict, but not in the day by day, no? So talking about the protocol of the IPMVP, we are now this morning, or yes, starting with this new program for a new edition of PMBA. So we have to explain a little bit more the measure and the verification for all the different agents. No, that's so relevant to understand exactly the concept. But when you promote a project, the main important target is to add it from the beginning, the white certificates, right? It's true that the payments come after the end of the project, but if you introduce an ESCO, for example, the CAES, instead of the project, the ROI will be less, so the return of the investment, in this case, reduced. And it's so important. So we have some examples. There are these long hanger fruits, no, that are the first of them in industry. But what's the sharing? That will be the question. What's the sharing, for example, in the industry? Sometimes it's more than the investment of the project, thanks to the white certificates. Here is only 1 year, but the cost of this one, when we are talking about this year, is around 190 euros, right? Imagine that you have to reduce that, and we are talking about, for example, I would say now figures that is not exactly the same, right? Because it's a market, right? But imagine 150 euros megawatt hours, right? In some of them, is more than the investment that you have to do it. So it's amazing. That's the really important point. It's true that you need the capacity at the beginning to promote and to make the project, but the start later at the end of the project. You have to finalize the projects. So when you start, imagine with the ESCO vision, right? We start always the demonstration period, all right? After the construction, the management start, and from that point, you can verify. So they reduce the payback, the return of investment, and go down, and this is so the most important point.
Thank you. So I guess baseline is basically part of the project design. So you need to probably based on energy consumption data and the like, and the use of IPMVP. It is used, but it's something that new capacity building needs to happen, and also include it from the start in the design if you plan to do projects with white and get white certificates as part of the projects, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, as you know, there are two of them. When we are talking about industrialized, you have a data sheet, right? That you are need to make some different inputs, right? And it's easier, but it's easier because we spend many times with different formulas or, data from the market. In the case of Spain, it's ex post, it's not ex ante as the French market, right? You have to demonstrate everything, but you have different data set with the calculation to be faster than that. So it's not so complicated, right? It's a formula, criteria, right? That is proven in the market, right? But this you don't need. It's only to follow the documentation is okay for the verifier or the data is correct. That's only at that point. So for the verifier. The point is when we are talking about the singular, mainly in the industry, the big projects or something specific, so complicated for a specific industry, no? That's the challenge. So yes, you need the baseline, you need to monitorize before the data, right? To make the project, the protocol, the different options, the ABCD, say, okay, what's my best option, right? You have adopt, you can make this consultation previous to the national coordinator. It's a big project, imagine, no? So we have different projects from the boats, plane. So imagine, no? We are talking about a new plane. If it's more efficiency in the consumption, why not? So you can do it, no? But it's a big investment. You have to make a new plane for something specific, no? So, and maybe the period of time, 2 or 3 years, but you integrate the possibility of the guys instead of this, because this is the challenge to promote, no? In other way, it's not possible. So the baseline and the IPMVP is so clear to understand that.
I'll take well, I'm moderating, so I'll jump the line with questions. I actually have a question, or maybe observation and question. So, because this financial benefit comes afterwards, I'm just thinking. You mentioned that you can basically do projects where that you couldn't invest in before, because your expectation is that you will get revenue streams from the certificates. And I think this is especially relevant for the larger companies that have access to capital or can take that risk, basically, and wait for this additional revenue stream to come. So do you see this also as a way to push these big players in the market to push technologies and type of interventions that have not entered the market yet? So basically normalize new type of activities in the market?
Yeah, that's, we are seeing that in different sectors. Okay. So I give you some examples. So, not in all the technologies or not in all the projects, you have the share of the investment is so relevant. Imagine, for example, for the renovation, no? The insulation in a building, in the third sector. We are talking about 15, 20% in the best of the case. So the KS is not maybe the key element based on all in the KS to make this big effort for the renovation, right? Because the sharing is so small. If you integrate in this case that we have Spain, Italy, others with next gen funds, then the combine or with the grants specific for the national that they want to promote in this case the renovation in the residential sector, in the households, then the combination, yes, then you can do it, right? But not only with the guys. But in other way, on the other hand, there are some of them that the payback, it was 5 years, or imagine 10 years, and thanks to the guys, reduced the half. So a project that is in the cupboard, you can take it, say, okay, thanks to that. It's true that you need that investment. The big projects, you need 2 or 3 years do it, right? But does make sense for the ESCOs. You have the ability, okay, I make this investment and I delegate it, so introduce the white certificates, right, in the process from the beginning. So it's a way to help to develop for the private institutions, in this case, to promote that one. So,
okay, well, thanks. I think the one question is, I think, is quite easy. 1 kilowatt hour of annual energy saved is 1 KAI. I think you answered that during the presentation. That's correct. I think there's actually a question for me as well.
Very good.
It says, but I'll actually ask for your help, Carlos, to answer this one. It says, basically, it is from Mauritius. Josh writes that I might be aware of renewable energy and energy efficiency schemes available by the Central Electricity Board, which is the utility company. And how I think that KAIs can be adapted to small island development states like Mauritius' energy environment. I think, well, first of all, I mean, energy certificates, you can adapt them in different ways. And I'll start, and maybe you can add with your inputs, Carlos. But in order for them to be really effective, in my view, you need to create demand for them. So, I mean, in Spain, and the example you provided, you have obligations by certain players to reduce their energy consumption. So you have a target, which is obligatory. So you can achieve the target by doing something in your facilities and reducing energy consumption. You can also purchase savings certificates. You could do it on a voluntary basis, but then you basically don't have necessarily a demand for it. So the prices for the certificates will not be high. So you need, I think, this creation of demand by putting obligations on the large energy consumers to reach certain targets. And then you need the whole supporting framework. As you mentioned, you have from one side the regulation and the regulator, you need enforcement, you need verifiers, you need a system to track everything, you need a system for the market, basically transactions to happen, and so forth. I don't know if you have anything to add, or if you think maybe I missed something.
No, I completely agree, Federico, with you, the vision. It's true that, for example, in Spain, we had the white certification in 2014. So it was in the Real Decree that created the National Energy Efficiency Fund. It was there. So only that we are not the option or the challenge to create or to design. So it has been years for design this mechanism. I think the successful case is to improve a little bit the experience in other markets as the French market. So it's based on the French market, but we introduce some difference or more specific ideas for the traceability. But it's important, first of all, that we have an ecosystem before, that it was the market, it was there, no? That from the ESCOs, from the technology provider, the financial institution, everything, the context and the ecosystem, it was before creating that one. And later we have the push, that this is most important, the national energy efficiency, so they obligated, right? But did you think, you say, okay, but imagine an obligated, we have the top 10, we have the majority of them with us, working with us. Saying, okay, if in 2022, or in 2023, but in 2022, I have to pay all of the obligation, 200 million euros, and now we are talking about nearly 2,000 million euros, so 2 billion euros, it's 10 times more. So I will be encouraged, no? So I mean, this a really crazy moment, what's happened with it, because I have to pay 10 times more. But the real situation is not the vision of the obligated side. This is not the way. So this is a new opportunity to make some market and new develops. I make an ESCO company inside to work on it. On the revenues of the ESCOs goes for me for another way. So you have to pay for an entity, national entity, or I can move in another new area to develop energy efficiency when I was only talking about the sales of to be an utility. So change my mentality, say, okay, this is maybe a new business. So, and that's the successful case, we can say, of this mechanism when you are growing more than expected. So the past year it was 4.8 terawatt hours, and the request it was around 5.7. So it means that it makes sense for the private institutions, that is who are playing with their own money. So based on Mauricio's, it's so clear you need the mandatory and the target and increase the target, right? So you need, in this case, the policymaker that believe in energy efficiency and create some mechanism, something like similar, right? That's the first point. This is the big push for it, but later for the market to believe that is a big opportunity for the business. And that's, in my opinion, the best opportunity that we have.
Well,
sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. I think there are actually a lot of questions that have come in. I think there's one, I think that should get clarification from you. The question is, if a singular KAI does not reach 1 gigawatt hours of annual energy savings, can it be submitted as a package that groups together several actions which together do reach 1 gigawatt hours? And my understanding is that basically the KAI is the certificate is 1 kilowatt hours. And then you have singular type of actions or standardized type of actions. And there is no gigawatt hour threshold or limit or requirement for the singular ones. Basically, no. It's just a matter of classification. There is no threshold. You just generate the amount of KAIs that your action can demonstrate it achieves, basically.
Yeah, but it's a really good question, because maybe it's not so clear in my presentation that you have another possibility for the standardized, and it's true, you can aggregate. That's another option that we create in the Spanish market. So imagine, for example, a building with different windows. One window, maybe we are talking about 2 or 3 KAIs, it not make sense. So it costs more the verifier than the opportunity for it. But if I'm a manufacturer and I believe in this way, I say, okay, but wait a moment, in Madrid, in the community, I chain, imagine 5,000 windows per month. Why can't aggregate all of them? And then maybe we are talking about 5 gigawatt hours. I can make this process, the accumulation, right? And later to make only one request for all of them, right? It's not easy. It's not easy because we have, and we are working with the policymaker in this develop. Imagine for something similar for the electricity vehicle. It's clear that it's more efficiency than the combustion, right? The traditional, but you can aggregate many of them. You buy, I don't know, Mercedes or any kind of brand, it is the same. You can introduce all of them in Madrid or for different brands. I don't know, imagine thousands of cars. It's not only for one. You can aggregate all of them, but the problem is, in this case, is we are working again, no? So for the standardized to be more accumulated for all of this, but right now it's so complicated, and we are working in this develop, right, for to introduce the statistic process, right, for this accumulated aggregated in a bigger one, right. You can do it as only one project, right, but we are talking about, for example, again for the windows, you need that right now verify everything, window per window. So not per window, but yes per end user. Yeah. The documentation and that you need to put not only data of the technical issue, or technical documentation, if not as you as owner or the end user. No, you have to make both of them, and you have to combine. We are working on it, right? To bigger project and to mobilize in some of them. Yeah, that's a good question, really.
And I think actually we answered one of the other questions about some examples, real examples. So basically, you have different type of energy efficiency measures that it can be windows, it can be electric cars, and so forth. And basically, when you implement it, depending on your project design, you can present it as the energy efficiency improvements that you have achieved exposed, that you need to document, and that will basically allow you to get the issuance of the certificates.
Yeah.
I think
that's Federico, that's you say exactly, and this is the most important difference with the grants. First of all, in a grant, you need to demonstrate, and thanks to the grants, to promote the energy efficiency project, because if not, it was not in charge, so it was making for the you can affront the investment, or the payback is so high. You need the grants to do it, to promote it, and to make the build, and not in this case, right? You start with the action and demonstrate that the action is regarding exactly to a data sheet, or in this case from the standardized, or the measure with a singular, with the protocol.
Yes, well, thank you. And also, I think one of the beauties about this is that with a singular or standard, you can also basically you provide incentive not only for, I mean, we see many subsidies are technology specific or one type of activity specific. If it's heat pumps or something similar to that, well, the white certificates design allows for a wide variety of technologies, both standardized, but also you can package it as a project that you design yourself. Like you basically, it's mostly in industry, as you mentioned, but these like deep interventions which might incorporate a wide variety of different type of interventions, technologies at the same time, are also still allowed through the system, I think. So
yeah,
I think that's also one of the beauties.
That's the challenge, and it's amazing. I have many years of experience in the operation system, in the operation side, and appear many industries that they make some question if this is energy efficiency. Yeah, I think that's the opportunity. That's the relevant, because thanks to the white certificates, you can make this investment. And make it, yeah, it's growing a lot of many other technologies. Other important challenge is in the case of Spain is complementary with other kind of grants, right? Except if it comes from the National Energy Efficiency Fund, right? It's the only exception, and it makes sense, right? Because you can pay for the national or give it the savings, the obligation, thanks to the white certificates, right? But with this other, there is a back of the national energy efficiency and promote any other kind of energy efficiency, right? But it's not in the set. In this case, in the tenders appear exactly this is not available or complementary with the CAEs. But the majority of them is imagine, for example, in the industry, big industries, you can do it for the decarbonization and energy efficiency together, right? In that point, the grants say, okay, no more than 100% it was available for the investment. So imagine the tax of the share is 70% for the CAEs, and you can has another 50% for the grants, 120, say, okay, no. For the grants, it's only the 30%, and it's not available more than 100, right? That's the point for the grants, but no for the CAEs, because it's not a grant, so it's a mechanism. It's a private market, primary or secondary, right? That's the challenge. the deal at the same time.
Well, I think with that, and also looking at the time, we will round off there. I think you showed that this market is already providing some great results, or this tool is already providing great results in Spain, and hopefully we'll see similar markets also develop, not only in Europe, but also abroad. We know that there is interest, as already provided by the questions, but we know the interest is beyond our listener from Mauritius. I thank all of the participants, all of the listeners who have joined today. We hope to see you in Madrid in October, 20th, 21st, 22nd. And thank you most of all, Carlos, for your great presentation and all your insights. Thank you all. And we will be waiting for you also for the next webinar, which is the 5th of March on risk mitigation instruments for energy efficiency and ESCOs.
Thank you so much, Federico. It has been a pleasure. We go on working on the energy efficiency and the ESCO market. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you.